recording, I want to say.
Okay, hi everyone. It's good to be back. Good to see you. A few people wrote to me that they cannot come. I'm going to share the screen now with you. Share screen. Do you see the picture?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be about the Shunamite woman that Elisha visits. And it's a very interesting story because unlike a lot of women who, are, how should we put it, sort of victims or nothing special, she's described as being a great woman. So she was really important. She seems to be running things around. And you can see here, this is Elisha coming to speak to her. But here you can see her really, I don't want to give you, what do you call it, a spoiler for those of you who don't know the story. But here you can see her later on beseeching Elisha. But at this point, you can almost see them as being, equal partners, and she's in the foreground. Presumably, this would be either her husband in the background or possibly the person who accompanies Elisha. Okay, so here's the story. All right, Norman, you want to start reading?
One day, Elisha visited Shunem. A wealthy woman lived there, and she urged him to have a meal, and whenever he passed by, he would stop there for a meal. Once she said to her husband, I am sure it is a holy agent of God who comes this way regularly. Let us make a small enclosed upper chamber and place a bed, table, chair, and lampstand there for him, so he can stop there whenever he comes to us.
Okay, stop there for 1 minute. This will probably remind you of a story we read not too long ago of another woman who made a little place for him. And the stories are very similar, except that one was with Elijah, and that woman was a very poor woman. Okay, so there's a big contrast between the two stories. They're usually taught together. Go on.
One day he came there. He retired to the upper chamber and lay down there. He said to his servant Gehazi, Call that Shunamite. He called her, and she stood before him. He said to her, Tell her, you have gone to all this trouble for us. What can we do for you? Can we speak in your behalf to the king or to the army commander? She replied, I live among my own people. What then can be done for her? He asked. The
Okay, so
fact is,
stop there. So this is somebody who has everything she needs. She's totally happy with her lot, doesn't need anything. It's like when you're trying to find a present for someone who has something and you can't think of a thing because they have everything. So this is the situation. And now here the plot will thicken. Go on.
The fact is, said Gehazi, she has no son, and her husband is old. Call her, he said. He called her, and she stood in the doorway, and Elisha said, At this season next year, you will be embracing a son. She replied, Please, my lord, agent of God, do not delude your maidservant. The woman conceived and bore a son at the same season the following year, as Elisha had assured her.
Okay, now what does that remind you of, especially the phrase at the season next year?
Anna.
Well, Sarah.
Sarah, and it's exactly the same words. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, this is a haftarah for when you're reading about Sarah, if I'm not mistaken, all right? This is a haftarah that's read regularly. And, it's very interesting because today, first of all, Gehazi turns out to be a very problematic person later on. But he's the one who steps in, right? He's the one who butts in. And you could almost say he assumes that every woman without a child is unhappy. Okay? As very, very interesting, when we're looking at it in modern perspective, all right? On the other hand, she says, do not delude your maidservant, all right? In other words, don't play games with me, all right? And the fact is her husband is old, so where's that baby going to come from? But okay, that's, neither here nor there. Okay, Louise, you want to continue reading?
Yep. The child grew up. One day he went out to his father among the reapers. Suddenly he cried to his father, Oh, my head, my head. He said to a servant, Carry him to his mother. He picked him up and brought him to his mother, and the child sat on her lap until noon, and he died. She took him up and laid him on the bed of the agent of God and left him and closed the door. Then she called to her husband, "Please send me one of the servants and one of the jennies so I can hurry to the agent of God and back." But he said, "Why are you going to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath."
Okay,
She
stop
answered,
here. Wait, stop here for a minute because there's a lot of stuff to look at here. So first of all, notice he cries to his father, "Oh, my head," but he doesn't bring him,
right.
right? He has a servant carry him to his mother, all right? That's one thing. And then the child sits, she's very passive. What does that remind you of? The child sat on her lap until noon and he died. The passivity of the mother. Another story that we read on Moshe Shana.
The binding of Isaac.
No. I'm thinking of Hagar.
Hagar.
Oh,
He's Ishmael.
Who sort of throws him in, and leaves him
Right.
to die because she can't bear looking at him. Okay. And then he actually dies. All right. And then only after she dies, she brings him up. Okay. And then she called to her husband, presumably the husband didn't come back, and asked him to send one of the jennies, I guess it was a donkey or something.
Yeah.
And then this is the other thing that's interesting. Why are you going to him today? It's neither moon nor moon. Apparently, it was a habit for women to go out on their own to celebrate, either for Rosh Chodesh or Shabbat. Otherwise, they were sort of expected to, be at home or go to a holy place, right? To a holy man. Okay. So, all right, now go on.
She answered, "It's all right." She had the jenny saddled and said to her servant, "Urge it on. See that I don't slow down unless I tell you." She went on until she came to the agent of God on Mount Carmel. When the agent of God saw her from afar, he said to his servant Gehazi, "There is that Shunamite. Go, hurry toward her and ask her, 'How are you? How is your husband? How is the child?'"
Okay, what else do we see of interest here before we go on to the next section?
Well, Gehazi's still there.
Okay, Gehazi's still there. And when the agent of God sees her, now this is someone who's offered him home hospitality.
Right.
Wouldn't you sort of expect him to go
For him to
himself?
go greet her.
Right? So in other words, this distancing, both the distancing with the father and the
Right.
distancing with Elisha. Okay. Joyce, would you go on?
Sure. We are well, she replied. But when she came up to the agent of God on the mountain, she clasped his feet. Gehazi stepped forward to push her away, but the agent of God said, Leave her alone, for she is in bitter distress, and God has hidden it from me and has not told me. Then she said, Did I ask for my Lord for a son? Didn't I say, Don't mislead me? He said to Gehazi, Tie up your skirts, take my staff in your hand, and go. If you meet anyone, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not answer him, and place my staff on the face of the boy. But the boy's mother said, As God lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So I can't see. They arose and followed her. Gehazi had gone on before
Right, so
them.
he arose
Yeah.
and let's stop here. Let's stop here. This is also very strange, right? This idea of, on the one hand, there's the agent of God. Elisha realizes there's, a problem, but he sends Gehazi, right, to go.
Right.
Why isn't he rushing up, right? And the boy's mother is not happy with that. And she makes it clear she's not going to leave him, right?
Right.
So, meanwhile, Gehazi went on, right?
Yeah.
So the question I have is, he says, well, how are you? And she says, we are well, instead of saying, oh my God, look, what happened to my, that's nuts.
Who does she say we are well to? 1 minute.
Yeah.
There, go hurry toward her to ask her, how are you? How is your husband? Who did she say that to?
Gehazi.
Gehazi. Okay. There's something there about Gehazi that she doesn't trust, I would
Right.
say. All right. Don't forget,
Right.
it was he who had the idea to give her a child. Right? He's a troublemaker, so to speak, right?
Right.
And it was not Elisha's idea. And again, I'm asking you, where is that child coming from? Was from this old husband. Okay, so the fact remains is that rather than him rush, he sends Gehazi on ahead. And we're talking about long distances, all right?
Right.
We don't know exactly where Shunem is, but just to schlep to the Carmel is, not so simple, all right? And this idea of placing my staff, right? In other words, he gives Gehazi his staff. It's almost as if the staff has some power in it, like, Moses' staff. Very, very weird, There's a lot of, with Elisha, there's much more magic than there is with Elijah, right? There is some magic with Elijah, but there's more, I don't know if you should call it magic, but, strange things happening. Okay, and then are we up to what the boy's mother
I
says?
said, as God lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So he arose and followed her. Gehazi had gone on before them and had placed the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. He turned back to meet him and told him, the boy has not awakened. Elisha came into the house, and there was the boy, laid out dead on his couch. He
One
went
second.
in.
Wait, before you revive him, before he revives him, sorry, I'm giving you a spoiler, but this reminds me of, ambulances, right? Or first responders.
Right.
So the first responder came, only with, I don't know, an inhaler, right? The second responder comes with the, what do you call those, the clamps,
The- Right.
to-
The
Paddles to
the
right, the
paddles.
yeah. Okay,
defibrillator.
Defibrillator.
Ventilator.
exactly.
I
Right.
was saying it.
Right,
He,
okay.
he went in and he shut the door behind the two of them, and he prayed to God. Then he mounted the bed and placed himself over the child. He put his mouth on its mouth, his eyes on its eyes, and his hands on its hands, and as he bent over it, and the body of the child became warm. He stepped down, walked once up and down the room, then mounted and bent over him, and thereupon the boy sneezed 7 times, and the boy opened his eyes. Elisha called Gehazi and said, call the Shunamite. And he called her, and when she came to him, he said, pick up your son. And she came and fell at his feet and bowed low to the ground, and then she picked up her son and left.
Okay, so first of all, the mouth is like, looks like resuscitation, but he's actually dead, and he's been dead for a while. So this is really like a miracle, right?
Yeah.
And if people try to explain it and whatever, I don't know how long you could be dead and still be revived, but it's clearly miraculous.
5 minutes.
What?
5 minutes and your brain dead.
Right.
So,
Unless it's unless a hypothermia situation with the child, it could be longer.
you mean too much sun?
No, too
No.
cold.
Too
Cold.
Too much cold. Okay.
Or if he really wasn't dead, he was in a dead-like state that they thought, and he probably was
Right.
not completely dead. That's the only thing
Right.
you can figure.
Or there was a miracle. Okay. So, but I think what's cute is that he sneezes 7 times, which is like a holy, thing. And also look at the language. And I'd have to check the Hebrew, but I'm pretty sure it's the same. When he's dead, he's called it. Right.
Like he's calling it the corpse.
Right. And when he's alive already, he refers to
As a him.
child, right? Right? Eyes on its eyes, its hands, right? Its
Right.
mouth, it bent over it, right? And then the body of the child became warm, and then it's already the child, right? And him. So I think that's also interesting. But this story is a very, very well-known story, and she's very grateful, for what happened that he basically rescued. But there's something off about this story that always bothers me. I'm not sure what. Does anything bother any of you, or am I unique in finding something bothering me?
Well, it just seems too fantastical. I mean, it's like an out-of-body experience, I guess.
Okay.
I tell you what bothers, at the very end, she leaves. Where's she going? Isn't she home? I mean, where does she go?
They were upstairs. They were upstairs in his little room.
Oh, so she left the room, not the,
Right, right.
okay.
Where's the father in this?
Where's the father here? Yes. Anything else?
What about the staff? He thought the staff would work and then it didn't.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's the equivalent of sending an aspirin or something, and not the real things. Why didn't he rush in right away? That was the fact that there's this constant distancing between the mother and the father, and Gehazi, who's the intermediary between Elisha and her, and he's the one who suggested the child to begin with, right? So it's really, interesting here, this whole thing. So this great woman this is a quotation from Claudia Camp, an early feminist. The great woman of Shunam appears twice in the narratives about the 9th century BCE prophet Elisha. Her title suggests wealth, but also, as the story unfolds, independence of mind and faith, right? She recognizes Elisha as a man of God, offering him meals and building and furnishing a roof chamber for his convenience, a decision announced to her husband and not submitted for his approval, right? This is some woman who's, in response, the prophet offers her a boon, right? We saw that. Although this offer foreshadows later events, here she proudly refuses such help, right? And then the servant is the one who points out the childless, and then he then announces she'll bear him a son, right? And what's interesting, and later on in the story, right, much later, because this was 2 Kings 4. Now, when we come to 2 Kings 8, there is going to be a famine, which reminds us a little bit of the story of Ruth, right? And he says, leave immediately with your family and go someplace else, right? And there was a 7-year famine, right? And she did, right? Because she has inside information, right? Get out of here while the going's good, right? And then when she comes back, the end of 7 years, she comes back and she goes to the king to complain. But remember, this was a woman who had a lot of stuff about her house and farm, right? Now, it just happened, right, that the king was talking to Gehazi, right? And he said, tell me all the wonderful things that Elisha has done. While he was telling the king how Elisha had revived a dead person, in came the woman whose son he had revived, complaining to the king about her house and farm. My lord king, said Gehazi, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha revived. The king questioned the woman, and she told him the story. So the king assigned a eunuch to her and instructed him, restore all her property and all the revenue from her farm from the time she left. So, okay, this is a story with a happy ending. Not only did she get her son back, but she gets all her property back after inside information. Very unusual if you think about it, because after 7 years, right, she clearly has protexia. You all know what protexia is, I assume? No? Special.
But she does not have a name.
Right.
But she does not have a name. Thank you. Right. She's always the Shunamite. and sometimes even that's Shunamite, right? Not exactly. Okay, so so squatters apparently were on her property, and so she gets the stuff back, and she even gets the income that the fields would have provided during her absence. Right. So apparently, the king, who's very impressed with the fact that she's, that there's a miracle here, gives everything back. This is Claudia Camp again talking. So very, very interesting. Carol Myers, who's a very well-known Bible scholar, and she has an article called "The Shunamite Woman and the Patriarchy Problem," and I think what she's going to talk about here is some of the things I've already mentioned, and as I mentioned before, her in Hebrew, she's called Gedolah, right? Gadol, big, which is probably great or distinguished, right? Which is usually a term used for men, but she's called a Gedolah. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the Haftarah for Parashat Vayera, which is this parasha where God appears to Sarah so she has the traits of a COO, a chief operating officer, right? And then she mentions other people who are also figures in the Bible, like Micha's mother or Abigail, or the strong woman in the Eshet Chayil, right? They all have access to household resources, and they use them. They don't need approval from their husbands. You ask, where's the husband? Well, she doesn't need the husband. She's totally independent on her own. So she points out to these examples as to show you that the Bible is limited. The focus is very often on the patriarchy, but here and there are stories. Not enough as far as I'm concerned, but Carol Myers likes to look on the bright side. So here's that picture we saw before, where she's riding the she-ass to Elisha, who then goes home with her. Here's a picture there, 1643. It's in the Rijksmuseum. Should I make it bigger, or is it clear enough?
Big enough.
Okay. And here in the background, before, you remember what we saw in the background. So here in the background, you could see what's going on here.
Oh, right, the boy.
Right,
the
revival. Right.
Mm.
Here's another one. Now this one looks like what?
The boy and
Right,
Elisha.
Jesus.
The Pieta, right? The Pieta.
It's right.
Very much like that. Here's another one where he's bent over. You can see the child is green or blue. I don't know what it really looks like. Here's another one. Here you see them talking, I guess on an equal level. No, I guess she's bowing here, so she must be thanking him. And I guess this is Gehazi in the background, I would imagine. She's holding onto his feet. And one wonders, who is this in the background? Is that just somebody? Here's a donkey. Maybe that was the person who brought her on the donkey.
Or Gehazi.
I think this is Gehazi.
That's Gehazi, not the man of.
No, I think this is Gehazi.
Not Elisha. Okay.
And this is the Elisha. No, this is probably Elisha. No, she's bowing down to him. Here too, she's bowing down to him, and Elisha always appears in here, right? And here's the famous staff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's another picture here. Here he's sort of blessing, right? He blessing him or raising him. It says he raises the son, but he's not raising him, right? It's like she's, but he's clearly, look at the color of his skin, it's already normal color of skin. Okay, so we have here, what time, how are we doing with time? 6:33. So let me tell you what I have here. I have too much, right? So let me tell you what I have here. I have here a story by Erica Brown from Praise Her Works. I have here, this is also, yeah, quite a bit from her. The whole thing from her, because I thought it was quite interesting. I think this is still her. I think this is still her. So this is something else. This is from Sparia. Maybe we'll look at that. Maybe we'll look at that. And then we also have Sue Reese's, what she wrote. She's not here today. She wrote to me that she's not coming. So I think it's sort of not fair if she's not here. On the other hand, that's her problem that she couldn't. I mean, she's babysitting. But what do you think we should do? Should we read the longer one? We have a half an hour almost. I'll let you decide. But meanwhile, think about it. Meanwhile, let's just look at what Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer has to say here. Susan Ferris, you want to read?
Okay. Elisha and the Shunamite woman. The woman went to Mount Carmel and fell on her face on the ground before Elisha, saying to him, "Would that my vessel had remained empty, but it was filled, and now its contents are split." The prophet answered, "Everything
Spilt.
spilt. I was wondering why it said spilt. Okay, yeah, spilt.
Oops, wait a minute.
Oops.
Wait, I just made it bigger, but I lost it. Where is it? Here.
There it is. Okay. The prophet answered, "Everything which the Holy One, blessed be he, doeth, he telleth to me. But he has hidden this matter, as it is said, and when she came to the man of God, and Gehazi came near to thrust her away." What is the meaning of to thrust her away? To teach us that he put his hand upon her pride, which was upon her breasts, as it is said. And the man of God said, "Let her alone, and the Lord hath hid it from me, and hath not told me." He took the staff which was in his hand, and gave it to Gehazi, saying to him, "Do not speak with the mouth any word at all. Now know that thou goest and placest the staff upon the face of the lad, that he may live." Now as for Gehazi, the matter was laughable in his eyes, and to every man whom he met, he said, "Dost thou believe that this staff will bring the dead to life?" Therefore he did not succeed, until Elisha went out on foot and put his face upon the face of the child, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. And he began to pray before the Holy One, blessed be he, sovereign of all the worlds. "Just as thou didst perform miracles by the hand of Elijah, my master, and brought the dead to life, likewise let this child live." And he was entreated of him, as it is said. Then he returned and walked in the house once to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him. And the child sneezed 7 times.
Okay, what do we learn from this? All right, what we're learning, they are giving some characteristics to Gehazi that are not so clear in the text. What are we learning about him here?
That he didn't listen to what his master told him. He talked to people on the way, and that's probably why the staff didn't work.
Okay, so in other words, first of all, he, and not only that, but he's making fun of
Elisha.
Right, of Elisha and the staff, right? And look at the second paragraph.
He was assaulting her, basically.
Was basically assaulting her, right? Why do you think the rabbis are doing this, turning him into a villain? Well, look, the same things that bothered us about that staff, right? So we have, why didn't the staff, if the staff had power, why didn't it work? Right? So that's a question that we had. Or we are maybe like Gehazi, by the way, who also says, well, what's with the staff, right? Right? In other words, we could also feel the same way about the staff. So I'm moving your pictures up here. Does this cover it for you or not? When I move the pictures up, you can
No.
you don't see them.
No.
No,
Okay,
we only
so 'cause-
see what I just read.
Okay, so then I could see you, I could see all of you and at the same time. Do you have any thoughts about this? Why would they want to make Gehazi into sort of like almost an abusive, not an abusive, but a sexual predator? And again, I'm asking the question, where did that son come from? I'm not going to make any hints. I'm not going to go in that direction, right? But
Well, is it to emphasize the miracle of Elisha actually, having the child come to life, that it needed his personal touch as opposed to an inanimate object?
okay, so first of all, you have the contrast between you need to have a person there and not, and not a machine, not something inanimate. And that's great. Okay. And also, I thought you were going to go in this direction. It's also a contrast between making Elisha look so much better
Yeah.
than Gehazi. Gehazi's attitude is sort of like, like who is he? Just throw a child,
Laughable.
right? Right. He's almost. Well, that's interesting. Is he like a clown or is he dangerous? They're almost making him into a dangerous person. He's not so much a buffoon, but he's
Right.
the problem, right? And why is this a guy that's working for Elisha? Why did Elisha choose somebody like him? I think that's really interesting. And the later story, when he's sitting and bragging to the king, right, which we saw
Right.
earlier, he's telling what's he doing with the king, right? Why is he there? You know what I mean? It's like, okay. So I think let's look at Sue's story. It's too bad that she's not here, but let's look at Sue's story, and I'll tell her that we used it, and she could always check it up on the because it's also shorter. So she calls it. First of all, the first thing you should notice,
She gives her a name.
she gives her a name, right? Tavorah, okay, which sounds a little bit like Deborah, but
Right.
and she translates the grand lady, right? Like the Gedolah. Okay. All right. So let me see. How many readers do we need for this? Let's see. Count down here. We need quite a few readers for this too. These are her notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. We don't have 10 people here, do we? No. Louise could be 1, Joyce 2, Susan 3,
Yeah,
Barbara
we have
4,
10.
4, Stevie 5, Norman 6, Jill 7, Toby 8, Jerry Lynn 9, and again Toby 10, and if there's an 11, Stevie, okay? If there's an 11.
I didn't hear my number, Naomi. I'm sorry.
You should be after Joyce, I think.
After Joyce.
What was my number?
Louise, you were 1, right?
I think so.
Okay. And was I 2?
Yes. I'm looking at the pictures. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Susan, Barbara, 4, right? Stevie 5, Norman 6, Jill 7, Toby 8, Jerry Lynn 9, and then if there's a 10, Toby,
Right.
and if there's an 11, Stevie. Okay? All right.
Okay.
Okay. I am nearing the end of my life. As I look back, I see that in many ways I was blessed. Even the trauma that I experienced brought an unexpected blessing with it, but the blessing started much earlier. Listen to my story. Part 1. Many of the blessings that life brought to me started with my birth into a wealthy family, with parents who believed that even a daughter should be educated and empowered. One day, my mother called me into her chambers. Tavorah, a tutor will arrive next week to begin teaching your brother. You were younger than Gilboa, but you were very bright. Father and I have decided that you will also study by his side. I do have one piece of advice for you. Men do not like it when women are smarter than they are. They feel threatened. Even though you and Gilboa are still children, he is your big brother. He lacks self-confidence, so he will not respond well if you outperform him. Do you understand? You are a bright child, and I am sure that you will excel in your studies. Please do not make your brother feel inferior. I sensed what Mother was telling me. I had seen it down in the stables. Gilboa was unhappy that I had learned to ride and jump fences when he could barely swing himself into the saddle.
Our schooling began, and I became fluent in reading, writing, mathematics, as my mother predicted. I was a better student than Gilboa, but he didn't seem, I can't see there, but he didn't seem to mind that he was more interested in working in the fields with the peasants than sitting over the book. I can't see that. We worked out a deal. I would help him with the lessons so that more quickly he could be free to go outside. In return, he would stop playing pranks on me. When we were old enough, Father began to include Gilboa and me in the family. I can't see that. Affairs, and saw that Gilboa liked the fields. So Father had him work alongside the estate foreman, and Father invited me to accompany him while he dealt with the suppliers and manager of financial affairs. Once Father called me into his office. Tavorah, I need to go to see the king to discuss the taxation on our fields. I want to expand our holdings, but first must arrange our obligations to the crown. You will wear your Shabbat dress and join me on the mission. But you must know you may be the first woman to ever appear before the king on agricultural business. If he ignores you, do not take it personally. Keep your head up and maintain your pride. I have confidence in you.
When I reached a marriageable age, the Shunamites considered me a good catch, and many suitors came to speak with Father. He and Mother called me in for a joint consultation. Tavorah, we do not want to settle a betrothal that will make you unhappy. We have the means to wait until you tell us that the proposed suitor is one with whom you wish to build your future. Another blessing in my life. Mother, Father, thank you. You know that I love the work that I am doing on the estate. I want a match that will enable me to be the lady manager of a large estate. True to their word, my parents did not enter into a betrothal for me against my will. At first, I was indifferent when Issachar showed up to ask for my hand. He was a wealthy widower whose wife had died without ever bearing a child. His estate was on the other side of the valley, near enough to visit mother and father for holidays, but far enough away to establish a name for myself. I agreed to consider him as a groom.
The meeting took place in the main parlor. Issachar and I sat in the throne-like chairs facing one another. We could talk in soft tones without being overheard by the chaperones in the room. Issachar, let me be honest with you. I want to manage an estate. I have experience, and I know that I can bring honor and wealth to any worthy enterprise. My goal is work, not to raise a family. I do not want to be a mother. I looked expectantly at his face while waiting his reply. My first wife was unable to bear children, he explained slowly. I loved her dearly. I have already accepted that at my age, I'm not going to be a father. I want a partner, not a baby factory. And so it was to be. Issachar and I were married 3 months later. Under our partnership, the estate prospered. I managed the daily affairs of the estate, and Issachar handled long-term planning. As his health began to fail, I took over more responsibilities. We paid our tithes and taxes and provided employment for many of the peasant families. I became known throughout the valley as the Grand Lady of Shunam. One day, the great prophet Elisha came to Shunam. As owners of the grandest estate in the region, it seemed obvious that we should host him, and we made preparations for the visit. But he didn't show up. The next day, our foreman brought the news. Elisha had visited the poorhouse instead of honoring us as the civic leaders.
Several months later, we heard that Elisha was returning to Shunam. I was determined to have him come honor us with a visit. I went out to wait by the main square. My driver, Eleazar, went on ahead, up the road leading in and out of the city. It was hot, but I was determined to remain until I was assured that Elisha would visit the estate. At last, I saw Eleazar approaching, accompanied by another man. Eleazar started to offer introductions. Gehazi, this is, but the man cut him off. Where is the lord of the estate? Gehazi demanded. I am the master of the estate, I replied. But the newcomer just snorted. We all stood in awkward silence until the rest of the entourage arrived. I rushed to the man in white, obviously the prophet Elijah, and bowed. I am Tavorah, master of Issachar's estate, and also his wife. Please honor us with your presence at the noon meal today. He hesitated a moment from surprise and then accepted the invitation. So Elisha became a regular visitor to our home. Eventually, even Gehazi seemed to accept the arrangement. Issachar had difficult days where he stayed in bed, yet he remained a gracious host. He accepted my suggestion that we should turn the attic room into a guest apartment for Elisha to rest whenever he passed through Shunam.
Several months later, we heard that Elisha was returning to Shunam. I was determined to have him come honor us with a visit.
Wait.
What?
I think you're the same thing. Wait.
Okay.
1 minute. 1 minute. I did not. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Reader 6.
Okay. The months and years passed. Elisha came at least once every third new moon. We came to know and respect each other as individuals. I don't know how or when it happened, but I began to accompany Elisha up the stairs to the guest apartment. We would speak and hold one another. It felt so good to have human contact again, years after Issachar had lost the urge. Then the
Aha.
unthink-
Ah.
then the unthinkable happened. Elisha arrived with his entourage. As usual, he headed up to his room for a rest before the evening prayers and meal. I finished the weekly bills of transport and then headed upstairs to Elisha's apartment. When I entered, Gehazi stepped out of the shadows and grabbed me from behind. He placed his hand on my breast and tried to force a kiss on my lips. By reflex, I let out a scream. Elisha came bounding up the stairs. He entered and pulled Gehazi off of me, flinging him to the floor and then ordering him out of the house. Elisha put his arms around me to calm my shuddering body. He stroked my hair, but then he began to pant and to put his hands all over me. No, Elisha, don't. I cannot. We must not. Please stop. But something had snapped inside him. He was no longer the friend with whom I had shared affection. Hayetzer hara took hold. Elisha forced himself upon me. Then he disappeared. He avoided not just our estate, but he stopped coming to Shunam altogether. And 9 months later, I gave birth to Samuel, the son I never wanted. I did not pray for this child.
Okay, this is amazing. I hope you're all enjoying this.
I will never forget how hot it was that day. Just thinking about it makes me feel faint. Samuel was out in the fields with Issachar, examining a fungus that was sapping the new buds. and I was occupied balancing the books. A rumble outside gradually drew my attention away from my numbers. A general sound of alarm arose, and then our foreman burst through the door. Samuel's limp body dragged across his outspread arms. My first thought was, how can he hold a grown youth in that position? I fought my body urge to collapse by his side. I took charge in order to channel my panic. I motioned for the foreman to follow me into the bedchamber, and I positioned myself on the bed. He gently laid Samuel's motionless body across my lap. The sun shone brightly on my son's face. How ashen he looked as his body struggled to take in air. I watched that the afternoon shadows grow longer across the room. Samuel's breasts became shallower and further apart. By nightfall, his soul departed. This child that I never had wanted, never demanded, the product of a rape, he had become the center of my universe, and now he had left me.
Issachar bent over Samuel, unsure how to react. No, I cannot accept this fate for Samuel. Elisha was the boy's father, even though they had never met face to face. The child was just an innocent byproduct of the prophet's ugly urges. Elisha was my only hope. I had to conquer my revulsion and call on him for help. As my soul wavered in indecision, my body began to take action. I called to Eleazar, "Quick, gird the donkey with the wagon." I was going to demand of the prophet that he come attend to Samuel. He must take responsibility. I hadn't seen Elisha since that ignoble night so many years ago. Did I have the strength to face him? How could he bear to look me in the eye? But I saw no other options if I was going to revive my child. I mounted the ass and headed toward the Carmel, knowing I would find Elisha at home. If he was out attending to the people, I couldn't allow myself to consider the possibility that he wouldn't be there. He's a prophet. He must at least sense that I am on the way to him.
I think that's me. The first person I saw as I approached Elisa's cottage was Gehazi. I had buried all thoughts of him from the memory's reach. I haven't even considered that he might be there. Once again, I had to ignore my revulsion in order to help my son. "Good evening. Is the prophet home?" I asked as I tried to walk past Gehazi without waiting for an answer. But he grabbed me by the wrist and pulled me toward him. I tried to swallow the scream, but it escaped my lips. And once again, the nightmare was upon me. Um,
Elisha.
Elisha appeared and called Gehazi away. Why was my body shivering so in this oppressive heat? When Elisha put his arm on my shoulder to comfort me, I recoiled, then collapsed at his feet. I refused his hand as I struggled back up. In silence, he followed me to the wagon. Our route was lit by a full moon, and we entered the estate gates before dawn. I sensed Elisha's anxiety as he prepared himself to view his lifeless son, the very son who embodied the prophet's sin. As we approached the manor, we saw a dark figure sneaking away. Gehazi? What was he doing here? But I suppressed the questions as we crossed the threshold, and the moment of life or final death faced us. I quickly led Elisha to the bed chamber where Samuel was lying, a bed chamber that the prophet had never entered. Issachar, was weeping over the lifeless body. Elisha asked us to wait outside. After a moment of hesitation, I exited and shut the door gently behind us before Issachar and I sank to our knees. Where is Issachar? Maybe it's Issachar.
I was afraid to listen to my motherly intuition that was telling me to be optimistic. Elisha, prophet and father, would pray to God for Samuel's soul. Would God answer the prayers of this prophet who worked on behalf of the people? Surely God knows that Elisha broke before Hayetzer Hara. Was Samuel's death God's punishment of Elisha for that rape so many years ago? Had he violated other women? Or was I a one-time urge to overcome a powerful woman? The door creaked open as if by itself. I heard Elisha's voice call from within, "Pick up your son." A wave of panic racked me. Would I pick up a corpse or a living child? But already from the doorway, I could see the blanket rise and fall with Samuel's steady breathing. I could see the aura glowing around his head. My son lived. Now that Samuel owed his life to Elisha, I would need to reconsider. Would the prophet be allowed into the life of his son?
Hi, Noga. Everything okay?
Joyce, you
everything's
need to
fine.
mute
How are
yourself.
you? Did you get any of the code?
I just muted her. Okay. So here are her notes, but before we even look at the notes, I really think that Sue is answering a lot of the questions that we had at the beginning, except for the shocking, right? Right. We were asking at the beginning, who was the father? All right. The idea that he's living upstairs in her house, right? And we had the same idea where it suggested much more in the earlier story about the poor woman and Elijah, right? If you remember, there's more suggestion there that he might have been living together with her. In fact, I could probably find it and we could look at some of the pictures from there. So clearly these two stories are interrelating with each other, but the idea that Elisha is actually raping her is fascinating, and it's coming a little bit from the story where, notice she has no details here of him being all over him, as the Bible has the story, right? The Bible has the story. Let's go back to the Bible story. The Bible story is he lies down over the child 3 times, right? And then later on, mouth to mouth. Oh, I don't think this is the Bible story. This is for further thought. 1 minute. Where are we? All right, it doesn't really matter. You probably remember. But what's so interesting, though, is that and you have this. This, by the way, is the message from the Shunamite woman in the previous story. Maybe we'll come back and look at that. But because that's really interesting. Why do you think Sue decided to have this raping here? And also, why does she name the kid Samuel? There is another Samuel. Are we supposed to think about the Samuel, right? Hannah's Samuel?
Right.
You understand all the problems that are interesting here. So, keeping in mind that she is clearly answering some questions, but she's also raising some other questions. Also, she brings in the brother, but we don't see him again, right? The brother at the beginning. So, okay, let's, I don't know if what I have here is her original story or if she cleaned it up later, but this is what she sent me a long time ago. So let's look and see what we have here. Norman, you want to read this? These are her notes.
The Tanakh does not relate anything about the Shunamite woman's lineage or her past prior to the beginning of the biblical account.
Okay, so this we get. Okay, so wait. So this we get in spades, at least 2 pages worth, right? So this is very interesting. It's necessary. Now she explains the names. Okay.
The Shunamite woman is not named in the Tanakh. I chose to name her Tavorah after Mount Tavor, which is in the general geographic area of the story. In modern Israel, there are a number of mountains that have given rise to common names: Carmel, Arbel, Nevo, Sinai, etc. Another mountain, the site of King Saul's death. I chose this name in honor of my grandson, Gilboa.
Okay, so
The
that's Sue's grandson, okay?
The Shunamite's husband is also not named in the Tanakh. Since the town of Shunam was located within the tribe of Issachar near the Jezreel Valley, I chose to name him after the leader of the tribe. Elisha was a prophet in the northern kingdom, Israel, as successor to Elijah. He was active from approximately 852 until 800 BC during the reigns of King Joram, Yehu, Jehoahaz, and Jehoash. Elisha's servant Gehazi is mentioned in several different biblical narratives. He was corrupt, and according to rabbinic traditions, he forfeited his place in the world to come due to his wickedness. Okay, Yetzer Hara is Hebrew for evil inclination. Although not a mainstream reading, I am not the first to suggest that there may have been intimate relations between Elisha and the Shunamite woman up in the attic room. I am not familiar with any other interpretations that claim that Elisha raped the Shunamite woman. Unlike Hannah, who followed the birth of the prophet Samuel, said, "It was this boy I prayed for, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him." The Shunammite woman says to Elisha, "Did I ask my Lord for a son? Didn't I say, don't mislead me?"
Okay, so maybe this also explains why she calls the name of the kid Samuel. Okay, so this is really what she is making very, very clear, right? What she's making very, 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 very clear here is that the aspect that she doesn't want another son. And I raised those questions, earlier, but she really makes it very clear here, right? I don't want to be a mother. I want a partner. I want to be a partner. He wants to be a partner. Not, in other words, here, unlike Sarah and Abraham, who are dying, at least she is dying for a son, and all the other barren women, she's completely content with her status, and that is reflected in the. And Gehazi is sort of like the devil. He introduces somebody into her life that's not meant to be there, but where is the idea of a rape? I wonder why she thought of it as a rape. Do any of you have any thoughts about that? I mean, it could have been a love affair. Let me stop the sharing.
Actually, I was thinking that there was probably an attraction between both of them because she goes up, gives him a room, he has privacy. She must have been attracted to him.
So I don't know why she decided to have a rape there.
Maybe because she feels guilty about having the child and knows it's from someone else, not her.
Or maybe she didn't want a child in the first place.
Yeah.
So this child, how do you get a child if you don't want one? It has
if you don't get raped.
It has to get forced upon you, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, do we have time for me? No, we don't really have time for me to look for the other one, which I'm sure that you could actually probably find it on my website. Let me just take a quick look and see if I could find it. Numbered blog. That would have been what story? What story would that have been? Any of you remember when I taught that?
No.
Would have been the woman. Oh no, I'm looking at my blog by mistake. Sorry. I have the wrong thing open. Let's see. But these are things we've done. Okay.
I just want to know, have we read this story before? Because
yes.
Okay.
Yes, last year.
All right.
Were you with us last year already?
I must have been, because I'm like.
Okay, good. No, good. That's great that you remember. You might be ill. As I've told you many times, I'm now repeating everything that I've done in the past because I want to online.
I just want to make sure I wasn't dreaming the story on my own.
No.
I wrote it first.
At all.
We read it
Not-
shortly, not that long ago, actually, probably like within the year, right? Naomi?
No,
Yeah,
no,
it
no, it
was.
was last year.
A year
when I'm
ago?
looking-
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
I think,
thinking-
she would also have felt guilt when it happened because her husband was downstairs in the house.
Right. Ah,
Yeah.
that's also interesting. But the fact that something was the matter with him,
Right.
is also
But
problematic.
she makes this
And
room
she said he
upstairs.
lost
And
the urge.
also, isn't it true that they always blame the woman for not childless? And in this case, he said his first wife couldn't bear children. It could have been him that couldn't have children.
Good
And they
point.
didn't want to
Right.
admit that.
Okay.
But it's always the woman's fault.
Always.
It used to be, and now sometimes still, but
Right.
And I don't know, it seems to me that I thought I taught the thing recently, but I can't find it right now. The one with Elijah, but I don't see it here.
you had it up for a minute. It was like on one paragraph thing.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Elijah one. I think that I had it, I can't seem to find it right now. Oh, it doesn't really matter. If it's on the website, you can find it. Okay, so listen, I think next week we still can meet. It's between the holidays, right? It's between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Monday is, but not Thursday.
No, Thursday is still okay. Wait,
Thursday's okay.
it's fine.
Thursday's okay. Not a holiday.
Shannon. We can meet next week on the 25th.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can meet next week. The following week, I think, is Yom Kippur.
correct.
Okay, so we'll meet next
Following
week.
week is Yom Kippur, yes.
And I think we're meeting, this Monday, we're not meeting with the,
No, it's
that's Rosh
Erev.
Hashanah.
Right.
For you, it's Erev Monday.
So
Yeah.
let me just stop the recording. And although we don't have to, I'll just wish all of you a Shana Tova. Let's
Shana
hope for a
Tova.
much better
Happy,
one.
healthy.
Healthy
Let's
and
hope
Happy New Year, everybody.
Shana
Happy
Tova.
New Year. Shana Tova.
Shana
Shana
Tova,
Tova.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you,
Shana
Naomi.
Tova.
much better one than this year. Wow.
I certainly hope.
Bye, everyone. Shana Tova.
There you go.
Very good.
Thank you,
Take care.
Naomi.
Okay, Naomi, I'm sorry I screw up when I'm reading. I'm trying. Okay.
No. Wait. You're still, wait, I haven't stopped recording.